I think that's a question that if you ask any parent within Bermuda, it would be a pretty straightforward response. It's obvious that the education system that my generation and the previous generations were educated in, although it was not perfect, although it had its challenges, it still was structured enough to ensure that every young person was able to fully develop and cultivate their natural talents towards fulfilling their purpose. Today we see that the middle school system is pretty obvious that it's not as effectual as the system of the past. And so I am a person that always feel strongly that you should never offer someone something that you yourself are not willing to accept. And so we're offering our children a substandard environment, cultural environment in education, which we ourselves were not subjected to. And I think that's very unfair. Furthermore, it's clear that a young person starts to develop group consciousness, meaning bonding with a specific group between the ages of 10 and 14. That just so happens to coincide with the middle school. And as I made clear in the reply to the throne speech, oftentimes you find these young people between 10 and 14 being put into a middle school based on where they reside. And so once they get to the senior schools, what they're doing is carrying a cultivated group consciousness based on where they're from. So for instance, when young people go to Cedar Bridge and Berkeley, they are carrying with them a mindset that I'm either from West, I'm from Warwick, I'm from the East, or I'm from town. Now, it's clear that if you look at the history of the middle school concept, it was a social engineering experiment that was implemented in the urban areas of Canada and the United States for the specific purpose of creating a dysfunctional-minded young person. Now, the same people who created that system made sure that their young people, their own children, went to private schools whose system was very much akin to the British system in the UK, which requires a higher standard of reasoning and writing and literary skills. And so, from our perspective, we feel that the time is right now, if we're really and seriously concerned with ensuring that our young people have the tools to be competitive in the economy of this country going forward, then we have to put in a framework which can make their education effectual. And so while you have parental responsibility, teacher responsibility, administrative responsibility, ultimately all those factors or actors within education have to function within the framework, the legislative framework that we as politicians set. And so the blame cannot be put on anyone outside of us within this house. And so now, being the new leader of the Progressive Labour Party, you will recall that I was forced to apologize when I was a senator, when I said in my assessment of the education system that we as a party had failed, right? Notwithstanding the fact that the United Bermuda Party put the system in place, we were the elected government at the time. Now, as the leader, my position is it's time for us to continuously tell the truth to the people, don't shortchange them, and most importantly, we have to ask ourselves, what is the best educational system for our young people? If we look at the curriculum is very similar to what you get in private schools. Okay, so it's not an issue of the curriculum or even the teaching delivery, but more so the culture that permeates the schools. And so one benefit of decentralizing the high schools and removing the middle school concept or system is that it will increase competitiveness between the schools, both academically and athletically. And if you remove competition from within the classroom or school versus another school, and that's healthy competition, then you're removing the motivation to strive for excellence. And so, as a party, yes, we have made errors. People can call it errors, and we didn't make the steps necessary that I felt, and many of us today feel, that we should have made in the education system. But after a humble reflection, because that's what happens when you lose an election, you have to ask yourself, what is the best methods that we could present, or policies or strategies that we can present to the current government to ensure that our young people are properly equipped for the future. Now, we also should, if the One Bermuda Alliance is really serious about government and education, It's remarkable that for years, the Honorable Dr. Gibbons was the shadow minister, having hardly ever visited a public school. But now that the One Bermuda Alliance became the government, he becomes the Minister of Economic Development, basically where all the money is flowing. So I have to ask the genuineness of the One Bermuda Alliance while they're in opposition. You are willing to use education, like crime and other issues, as a political football. But when the opportunity came for a person of the caliber of Dr. Gibbons to take the reins of the education system, he refused. And so that tells me a lot, and it should tell the people of this country a lot, as to what is the intention of the One Bermuda Alliance when it comes to public education.